Welcome, foolish mortals.
Foolish mortals, yeah.
Sorry, I was at the Haunted
Welcome.
Mansion earlier. Hi everybody. You think I'm joking, but I actually was. Hi, my name's Chloe. Welcome to the Scarlet Tavern, but not actually. I'm joined today by my very cool, very talented friend that I'm like, oh wow, you're in my town. How are you here? How are you? I ask myself that all the time.
Here.
How are you here?
I'm here.
You realize that like I knew you before you knew me, and that's scary. Okay, who are you?
Hi, my name is Arsum Sessions, also known as Obby, and teehee, I'm sitting here with a dumb little smile on my face. I'm smiling so
boy.
sweetly.
Oh boy. We're playing a silly little FPS. It's in the. Do we have a name for our arc?
I don't know if there's a name for it. I've just been calling it the multi-dimensional road trip.
Yeah, that's a good name. Yeah, for those who don't know, Chloe and Meadow have gone on a multi-dimensional road trip to find a couple things, test a couple things out, blah 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 blah. You should listen to the other games in the road trip if you are not caught up.
Mm-hmm. First game is the rising action, the second game is the climax, and now we sit here at the intermission.
The intermission.
The intermission.
Yes. And I will let you take us into the intermission, dear Obby.
All right. In that case, I'll take the wheel. We open within a space so dark it can be mistaken for the void. After a moment, there's a loud clunk. A spotlight shines through the darkness like a knife piercing flesh. Sudden, abrupt, painful. The light illuminates the center of the stage, where a small end table and a red armchair sit. Seated in the armchair, flipping through a script, is a jester dressed in reds, yellows, and blues. There is nothing but the sound of paper moving for a minute or two before the jester's head perks up. Though the comedy's mask's face remains the same, they tilt their head in a fashion to suggest that they just realized something. That's odd. There's no story to tell. Not today. It faces the audience. And yet, there's an audience. Sitting. Waiting. Their gloved hand stretches out into the darkness. After a beat or two, a loud squeaking wheel is heard, and another spotlight illuminates the stage to reveal a chalkboard covered in dates, names, and titles. The setup stands from the chair, arms folded behind her back as she paces in front of the chalkboard, thoughtfully staring at the writing. Getting into character, noise complaint, anything you can do. Is it possible I missed my cue? No, couldn't be. There would be no story without a proper preparation, and we're at an intermission. There shouldn't be. The hand raises to their chin as they think to themselves before they perk up at the sound of a fluttering piece of paper. Curious, it turns, looking up as another spotlight illuminates a piece of paper, fluttering down from the darkness above. They jog to catch it, cape billowing behind her from the movement. They catch it, holding it in quiet disbelief. They turn it over, then turn it over again and again, as if checking to make sure it was real. Then quietly, reverently, they take a moment to steady themselves, reading over the note.
It's an invitation.
An invitation? To what? To where? From whom? That's a lot of questions.
It is a lot of questions. Not all of which are answered on said invitation. It simply reads, "You've been invited," in fancy gold lettering, and then it says, "To here, when, now, with me." And then you fall through the floor.
Oh! Well then.
You're sinking. Falling.
You know, I have a trap door. It's built into the stage.
You... your trapdoor was, like, a few feet away from you. Totally accessible. Should it have been used, but it's not. And instead, you're zoomed around and flown through void before you are settled down into a similar looking chair. It's the one that you left.
Ooh, now this is fascinating. And they kind of eagerly sit up a little bit as they look around this new space. It's a new space.
It's a new space.
It never sees a new space. This is exciting.
So, let me paint a little word picture for you. You're sitting in an armchair. There is a very familiar sight of curtains with sort of the outline, the frame of a stage, but beyond that it is simply void, as if you had stood up a door in the middle of, a field and opened the door and just left the frame, except it's that, but it's a stage. There is kind of inky blackness in every direction, and there's a purple hue to everything. But below you, there is a small, barely an inch worth of some sort of liquid that's moving and shimmering, and it has sort of a iridescent aspect to it, but it's not oil. It's dark, purpley liquid. And a light comes on the stage. And there's a jolly little sound that starts to play from some hidden orchestra, and the curtains open. And there's two puppets, seemingly controlled by nothing. A crude version of Chloe and a crude version of Meadow, made out of socks.
Oh goodness, a show. I'm never in this position. And they kind of eagerly rest their arm on the armchair and rest their head in their hand.
The characters start kind of hopping. They're facing one side of the stage, and the sock puppets kind of hop up and down as sets and backgrounds start to pass by them across the stage, which normally would be, they would be going into a wing off stage if they're passing from one side to the other, but as soon as they cross that threshold of the frame, they're just gone. There is no backstage. It's just an illusion. And it's a very familiar story. It's, they go through the tavern, and then they go through a few backgrounds that are honestly quite similar to the various dimensions that they visited, until they finally wind up in a backdrop that extends the stage to look like yours. And then the two sock puppets turn to look at you.
I suppose that's my cue, isn't it?
I suppose it is.
Now this is the part where we spoke with one another, had a few choice little bits of conversation. And the setup, even if it doesn't know that if it's allowed to get up from the chair. It gets up anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And kind of like walks over to the stage, jingling eagerly across the floor.
Yeah, you can see there's nothing beyond the stage. The sock puppets don't have any hands in them. They're just kind of floating there watching you.
Mm-hmm. I think Setup kind of like curiously like reaches out to like one of the sock puppets, and then like there's like a boing sound effect as it flips in front of the sock puppet like a door stopper.
It comes right back into place. And then after a split second, it ignites with a blue fire. And then the other puppet ignites, and then the whole stage starts burning. And you watch as the puppets seem to kind of melt and crumble away.
Setup doesn't really react other than like a little head tilt that kind of jingles the bells on their hat. And then as it's like eaten up by the fire, they kind of raise up their hands and do like a little applause.
You would like that, wouldn't you?
Well, I must say, you've done your research, haven't you? You know what I like.
I do. And I know this was never supposed to happen.
What? It's fine. Nothing terrible happened. Not yet. At least.
And that's why you're here.
And as he says that, you feel a presence step behind you. And if you turn, I don't know if you do, but he is standing there.
She would like turn around like on a dime, just like pivoting her feet without like stepping around.
Good.
Like purposely does the motion so that her cape kind of swoops behind herself very dramatically.
How tall is Setup?
Not very.
Okay.
Like, compared to Meadow, Setup is actually a little bit shorter, and Meadow's already pretty dang short.
Okay.
But that tends
Defect
to
is
fluctuate.
7 feet tall.
I see. I think, like, the Setup, like, looks at this and goes, hold on, this is... And, like, they, like, hold up a finger, and, like, they bring a thumb up to, through the little mouth hole on their mask, and they, like, blow onto their thumb, and they start, like, getting bigger. Until they're, like, not roughly the same height, still a little bit shorter, but tall enough so that they don't have to, like, crane their neck up to look at this guy.
Yeah, probably fair. He watches as you grow taller. Hands behind his back, tail flicking back and forth. Has Setup seen the Defect before?
I don't think so. Technically speaking.
Okay.
I don't know if Setup really knows about the Defect like other people do, because Meadow has no idea the Defect even exists.
Right.
And the Setup is, as we say, late to the party.
Yes. Yeah.
Very late.
Well, yeah, I mean, he is the large goat dragon-y thing. Similar, as we found out recently, to a Krampus. I won't go any further into detail on that one.
Ramps.
And it's interesting because he seems to have a tiny flicker of that same blue fire that you saw consume the stage, kind of hovering above the fur on the very top of his head.
Now, isn't that curious? And the setup kind of like rocks on their feet, and like the motion just keeps jingling the little bells that are all over its outfit. And who might you be?
You may call me...
Mr. Tall and slightly on fire.
Yes. As I was saying, you may call me the Defect.
The Defect? Well, that's certainly a title.
And setup is not?
Oh, fair enough. Well, you obviously know my name, but I'll still go through the introductions. After all, this is a performance. And, they, like, do, like, a dramatic little pose for effect, and there's, like, a little illusion of a spotlight that comes over them for a second. I am the setup, representation of all preparation, and scenery in a story. Pleasure to make your acquaintance.
He looks entirely unamused.
What, no applause? Okay, then. And then, like, setup's spotlight disappears, and then it holds its arms behind its back.
And I think he just kind of stares at you for a moment, and then turns on his hoof and starts walking away from you.
I think, like, setup, like, tilts its head and then, like, watches the Defect, like, walk away a few paces before it starts jingling behind, curiously.
He glances over his shoulder, approvingly, but still skeptical, and then steps up onto a stair step that wasn't there before, and then continues to climb in a spiral staircase, each step creating a step that wasn't there before, and leaving them there for you to follow.
Ooh, goody. And, like, setup, like, does, like, a little excited little dance where they'd, like, do a few little steppies before, they, like, regain, like, that more serious composure and, like, follow up the stairs behind the Defect. I think it's kind of very subtly mimicking his position, like, hands behind the back, trying to be all pompous and serious.
That's so funny. I love that.
I mean, they're a silly little actor. They're going to be mimicking the people that they see.
And it seems to be that you're walking up into nothing, and it's almost an uncomfortable amount of, like, spiraling up and up and up these stairs until, it, despite being kind of very hard to see in here because it is kind of just black void, although, you know, the stair steps and both of you are illuminated with some light of some sort coming from somewhere that makes it easy to see. He seems to just kind of disappear into the ceiling as he continues to walk up, and you realize that you've reached some sort of ceiling, some sort of separation.
Fascinating. You know, this place is kind of like my stage. Of course, you seem to have more of a nebulous control over it than needing a whole bunch of little stage hands.
Yes, I think you'll find it's quite different from your stage, actually.
Oh, I wouldn't know that. I don't know anything about this place. And like they stand there with like their little hands like clasped in front of them, like looking so innocent. Look at that little face. She knows nothing.
There's a scowl in return. You've come up the stairs into a new room, and I say room lightly because it's still a void. There still seems to be no end to it. However, there is 2 nice armchairs, a table, a clock, some bookshelves, a little fireplace, paintings on walls that are not there, framing this kind of little room. Sitting on the table, there's a nice golden teapot with 2 cups, and they seem to be steaming.
This room looking like a 3D project that they accidentally de-rendered the floors and the ceiling.
Yeah, literally, yes, exactly that. You're in the Unreal Engine 3 void, except someone just put a bunch of props here, and they just did not finish the walls or the ceiling or the floor.
I'm picturing the teapot as like the default teapot for like testing that everyone uses. But it's just has like fancy golden trim and added to make it look fancier.
Yeah, it's actually almost transparent. It shimmers kind of in and out. Like, it's the kind of thing where if you try to focus on it and look at the details, the more you try to focus on it, the more kind of not there it seems to be. But you can still see the outlines quite clearly.
Is that true for every object in this room, or specifically the teapot?
No, just the teapot. Some other objects for sure. I mean, there's like a little table near one of the quote-unquote walls with like a tablecloth runner on it, but it's also sort of fizzling in and out of, detail. There's like a candlestick on the mantle that's that same kind of transparent shimmery gold.
I'm gonna ask a question. Is there a flower vase with flowers in it?
Yeah. Yeah, I think so.
Interesting. I think the setup like tilts its head, like looking at all this furniture. Well, you've decorated the space quite nicely. Very marvelous taste.
I know. Now, will you please take a seat? We have much to discuss.
Of course. And then the setup will kind of regain that almost childish eagerness as she smear frames over into a chair.
Beautiful.
In like just one big swoop.
Yeah, he takes the other chair, and with a flick of his wrist, the teacup closest to him comes over with the saucer and settles into his hands. And he takes a long, noisy, rude sip.
I think the setup will take its own cup and mimic the rude sipping sound. Just too loud.
He puts his cup back on the saucer with a little clank and looks at them.
They just tilt their eyes. They have no eyes. They tilt their head. They have no eyes to blink, but you imagine they would be fluttering eyelashes if they did.
Now, I'm quite curious. What are you doing here?
I don't know myself. You're the one who invited me.
No. Not here in the mid-space. My space. I mean here in the tavern.
It kind of like tilts its head again. Oh, you mean with my little darling Meadow, yes?
Yes.
Oh, nothing really. And it kind of like reclines back in the chair as it kind of like swirls the little tea in its cup. I'm just here to watch. Really is the long and the short of it.
That in itself wouldn't be too much of an issue, except you didn't just watch. Remember that little show? Remember how everything burned? It's because that scene wasn't supposed to happen. You're not supposed
It's not
to take
my
them out
fault
of the
that they're
sword.
It's not my fault that they wandered a bit too far.
Oh, so you just don't have any security? Oof,
Oh, trust me,
typical.
I have plenty. They just happened to not run into it, that's all.
Now,
Besides, I don't think you would have appreciated if you lost your little pet project there. I kept the spotlight on them for very good reason, I assure you.
Let me be clear. She is not my pet project. If anything, we're working together. Now, what I don't quite understand is why you decided to get involved with her.
I think it kind of stops swirling the tea to pause and take a long little sip. And then it lowers the cup. Must understand. I get dreadfully bored. And it like lounges like across the seat with like an over dramatic position. Like so mournful and miserable. And like for emphasis, the comedy mask just abruptly changes into like a tragedy mask in a blink. It's like oversized cartoonish tears kind of hanging off of it.
Good. I'm trying to decide if I want to do something. I think I do. As they like dramatically lean across this armchair, it stretches out to accompany them the other direction. So instead of being an armchair, now it's more of like
it's a fainting
lounge,
couch.
Like a fainting. It's a fainting couch. Exactly. Just to catch them. And as it does, Defect takes out something from just from pure space, just whoop, grabs something out of thin air and puts on some little glasses and opens up a book, and crosses his legs.
Mm-hmm. Like a therapy office.
Now, when you say bored, why do you think this feeling came about?
Well, they're doing a lot of traveling, but they're not doing a lot of, well, adventure, really.
I see. So you would prefer to change their story so it's more entertaining for you?
Simply put, yes. After all, that's why Meadow has that little hood of hers. A nifty little thing, don't you think? It took me ages. It took me ages to perfect.
I see. Well, it's caused setbacks.
I imagine there are a lot of setbacks in the tavern. Why focus on this one?
Because this one is related to someone that I can speak to and don't agree with.
But they're just having a little fun. What are you, a spoil sport?
No, I'm a realist.
No, same thing. And they just wave a hand dismissively.
Ugh. Listen here. You know, telling them that they are not real or they're simply characters in a story doesn't help them.
You and I have very different opinions. See, when I told my darling little Meadow that she was just a character in a story, I also gave her the ability to control it a little bit more than most others can. After all, she can swap between whatever genre she so chooses. Let her have a little fun, you know. It's little hints of hers.
It's not a superpower.
Not really, no.
You're treating it like a superpower.
It's more like a little privilege. One that I can take away at will. And she says this very critically while looking at the defect as she sits up and folds her little arms in her lap. Trust me, while this story plays out, I've limited her. She's not allowed to go willy-nilly to all her different stories and whatnot while the events of the tavern unfold. I'm sure you've noticed that she hasn't left for very long. In some time, really.
He takes off his glasses and folds them up, and they just kind of dissipate into nothing. Same with the notebook. And he leans forward.
Yes, I've noticed. No one is supposed to leave in the first place, so the fact that they're running rampant is a little annoying.
It's not my fault. They say that with the little halo gag appearing above their head.
He fully reaches up and pinches the bridge of his snout in between his eyes. Ugh.
Ugh. You do realize that as you're participating in the very thing that confines us, yes?
I know, isn't it exciting?
No, it's not.
You call it a prison. That's funny.
It is.
It isn't. It's not. The story is everything.
The
But you
story
didn't get that, would you?
is over-controlling. Overbearing.
It kind of tilts its head and it kind of sits crisscross applesauce on top of the couch, and the little arms are seated in the middle of the little crossed legs. There's nothing better than a good story, I think. I've seen many open and close and pass by. I live to tell them. I
Ah,
exist to tell them.
but tell me, what is a story that you can't tell? A story that's told for you?
I wouldn't know.
And that's where we differ.
Does the Defect have, like, a character sheet?
Why do you want to know?
Can he roll insight? Is that possible?
No.
Understood. Okay. Is there anything he wants to glean from setup?
He is... I will say this, he is specifically trying to work out their future intentions with the characters that are involved in the tavern. So if there is anything that he can glean from that, is up to you to decide.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I think, the problem is, the setup is very hard to read, because there's, like, no expressions. There's no indication of, like, what they're thinking. But they do, like, all the over-exaggerated, like, reactions and everything kind of to make up for it. But it's hard to tell what is going on behind that mask, which might be the point of it.
You do know you can tell me as well, right, Obby?
Oh, that's true. But that is... But maybe I'm looking to have a little fun, you know?
Wouldn't surprise me.
I'm right here too, by the way. I know what you're discussing.
Interesting, isn't it?
Very.
Do they not bother you?
Not particularly.
Hmm.
I'm an entertainer. I'm made to entertain.
Then I suggest you entertain somewhere not in my business.
Ugh, boo! And, like, the tragedy mask comes back as, like, they do, like, the over-dramatic flop on the couch again. No fun. Ugh. Spoil.
Oh, I can be fun, just not in the way that you're used to.
No, I have a lot of different kinds of fun.
Here's what I'll say. If you get in my way, if you explicitly tell any of the other patrons that they are a character, that they have a one, that they are not real, you will suffer the consequences. If you interfere with their storylines and the plans I have for them, there will be consequences.
Oh, please, I wouldn't dream of it. Trust me. I know better than to interfere with someone else's story. Goodness. You act like you don't trust me. Of course, you don't have very much reason to trust me, don't you?
No, I do
Listen,
not.
the only one who I mess with is the rabbit. Understand?
I think I can work with that.
Good.
So we have an agreement.
Maybe. perhaps a tidbit of an agreement. I just have one little polite request in return.
And that would be?
Keep your little pet from poisoning mine with your horrible little ideology. I've worked very long and very hard to find someone so desperate to be in any story. And I don't want that ruined for me. Understand? And this is probably the first time the Defect notices, like, there's no features behind the mask, but there is, like, a glowing point in one of the eyes. And it is very sharp and very bright and very intense.
He leans quite close and bares his teeth.
I wouldn't dream of it.
Good. Then that's all settled. That's my only concern, really.
Are you enjoying your tea?
I am. You do make a good brew.
Ah, thank you. I hosted a tea party here a while ago, and no one appreciated it.
A tea party for who? Did you invite characters? I thought you just gave me the whole runabout that you did not interfere with them.
No. They're like you. There are others like you. You do know that, right?
I think, like, I am so sorry to do this to your teacup. There's like a cracking sound as Setup tightens their little grip. Because they're thinking about one entity in particular. I am very aware. Yes.
Good. I wouldn't want you to be under the impression that you were an original idea. Oof.
Oh, please. I know I'm not all that original. No ideas are, really. They're inspirations from all the stories that they love to hear. Inspiring, really.
That's one way of putting it. Well, what are your next steps?
Well, let's see. Are you referring to the plot as a whole, or are you referring to with, those two? And, like, they pull, like, a little image from, behind, their cape, like a little photograph of, like, Chloe and Meadow, where we last left them off. This intermission has been going on for some time, you know. I bet they're so tired standing in that little grassy field. Of course, it'll seem like no time has passed for them.
Amazing how that works. Time really is an illusion, as a great friend of mine once said.
Nick Setup just nods and, just ever so innocently, like, rests their head onto both of their hands, which are propped up on their knees.
Well, it's been nice. I guess I'll see you around.
But didn't you want to know the plans? I thought...
No. You already told me.
Fair enough. Don't worry, I promise they'll get home. You seem so worried about them. though they might not come back unchanged.
Oh,
Or perhaps wounded. That would make for such an interesting story, don't you think? They come back and one of them is missing a leg.
as long as it's the rabbit's lucky foot.
I make no promises. Whatever the story decides to do is up to the story. I'm just here to set the scenery, as it were. I've got no control over it, after all.
No,
None of us
not
do.
yet.
And I think you fall.
Oh, well, there's my cue. Goodbye. And she, like, waves towards the Defect as, she, like, very, like, worn tune falls through the hole.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you land on your stage.
Well, now, that was enlightening. Oh, is the camera still on me? Oh, well, and, like, it, like, kind of, like, sits up with a start as it realizes it didn't end. That wasn't the end of the FPS? Okay,
Whoopsies.
Whoopsies! Well, unprecedented. I have an audience. And, this setup, kind of, like, stands up and, like, paces around the stage. And, like, as they do, like, they're kind of, like, snapping their fingers, and the stage hands, run all around them in the darkness and, like, move all the props away from before. I'm going to have a lot to set up for next time. Next time! Yes! Stay tuned, everyone. I will put on another performance for you very soon. We do want to wrap this little arc up, considering that things are picking up around here. It will be entertaining, I hope, for all of you involved. And they stare out at the empty seats in front of their stage, and for a long moment they kind of wait, sitting in the empty room, to an audience that does not speak back. Perhaps that's my cue to leave. I've overstayed my welcome, I think. You've all been very lovely tonight. Do take care. And perhaps we'll see each other again, if you are ever in a space where there is no story, and is in need of a setup. In the meantime, go have some fun. I imagine there are many things that you must do. Alright, ta! And with that, the setup walks to the left-hand side of the stage, the spotlight following them until they exit stage left, as it were.
Yay!
And that is where we close.
Wow. What an exciting intermission. Yay! Thank you for playing with me.
That was so fun and silly.
Thanks everyone
you for
listening,
listening, everybody, and thank you for playing with me. I'm so glad they were so catty with each other.
Yes, yes.
They hate each other.
I'm obsessed with them. Okay. Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye.
Bye.